executives, officers, managers, training officers, and subject matter experts. We've had a productive week over the last 4 days. Couple of topics that we have covered previously are on day one, we've had Professor Shankar Krishna Pillai and Professor Abhijit Deshpande enlighten us on innovative technology for sustainable food production, which is post-harvest technology and the value addition. Followed by day two, on which we have learned technologies enhancing productivity of small farmers by Professor Satyanarayan Chakravarti and Professor Sridhar Kumar Narsimhan. This talk was moderated by Dr. Palaniyappan Ramu, Associate Professor. On day three, we've had technologies facilitating access to value chains and markets. The speaker for this session was Dr. Satyanarayana Sheshadri, and this session was moderated by Mr. Srinivas from RUTAG of IIT Madras. Day four, we've had technology supporting financial inclusion, wherein we've had CEOs of Friends of Women's World Banking Ahmedabad and CEO of Sempulum Sustainable Solutions, Dr. K. Vijay Lakshmi. We've also had a program leader from Dun Foundation, Mr. K. Kalyanasundaram. Today's talk for the day is on the topic transfer of technologies from lab to farm to set up micro enterprises. Our moderator for today's session is Professor Kannan Lakshmi Narayanan, Professor of Practice from the Department of Engineering Design at IIT Madras. Our speaker for today is Dr. J.V. Rao, who is the CEO of Textile Sector Scale Council, TSC, New Delhi. A brief introduction about our moderator. Mr. Kannan Lakshmi Narayanan is currently a Professor of Practice in the Department of Engineering Design at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. His overarching research objectives revolve around electromechanical engineering for making the products that impact livelihoods and sustainability. He is the founder and director of Fractal Foundation, a one-of-a-kind ideas accelerator focused on bringing new technologies to the market, including microspin for scaled-down cotton spinning and skill vary, simulation-based skill training. In addition, Kannan sir's passion for innovation-driven engineering led him to co-found and direct companies like Vortex that manufacture ATMs and motors that develop high-efficiency traction motors for electric vehicles. Kannan sir received the Distinguished Alumni Award of the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras in the year 2014 in recognition of his innovations and transformative work in sustainable solutions for rural India. Sir, I welcome you for today's session, and may I request you to introduce Dr. J.V. Rao, the speaker for today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon to all of you, depending on which part of the world you are all from. It is a pleasure that people from more than 20 countries are participating in this event, and I'm confident that today's presentation will be will add a lot of value to you. It will give you a lot of things to think about. Before I do the job of introducing the speaker, firstly, let me confirm that I'm audible, and also I'll be playing a very brief audio clip, which I hope you can all hear. Let me get started. The background to today's presentation is that most of the industrial economies, starting with India and later on Europe and America, industrial revolution, all of this was based on cotton textiles. Industrial revolution was triggered by the invention of steam engine and subsequently the machines that it powered, which were largely to do with the textile industry. And the reason why cotton has been a fulcrum of economic revival is that, unlike probably to a greater extent than all other agricultural produce, the value addition that happens with cotton from the point where it is harvested to when it becomes a usable product in the hands of an end user is significantly large. It's about 20-fold. And this value chain is very employment intensive. It generates livelihoods for a large number of people who are associated in this chain. And what we are going to talk about today, Professor Rao, who is the speaker, we will be talking about a concept of what is called micro textile enterprises, which makes this whole value chain accessible to small producer communities at a small scale with minimal investment. And this is a package of technologies that has taken us quite a while, something like 2.5 decades, to iterate, refine, and perfect. And so I will now go on to introduce Professor J. Venkat Rao, and then let him take over the presentation from there. Professor Rao is currently the head of the Textile Scale Council, prior to which he was Director General of North India Textile Research Association. And among the different activities that he pioneered there, one that would be relevant to today's audience is that he laid the foundation for the revitalization of textile industry in Ethiopia. We will talk a little bit more about that a little later. And just to take you back in history, for centuries, India was probably the only country that was producing cotton textiles in the form of numerous artisanal activities scattered across India. And taken together, the volume of domestic and global trade was actually staggering. Even as early as Augustus Caesar's reign, a historian there called Pliny the Elder said that all the wealth of Rome is being drained because of import of textiles from India. So that was the volume of cotton textile trade, which added, of course, a great deal to the wealth of Indian economy. And then when the industrial revolution happened, the fundamental dynamics of production got radically altered. Cotton became a commodity to be aggregated from India and the Americas and taken in ships to reach England, where the cotton was then unpacked and supplied to the mills that turbocharged the industrial revolution of that era. And thus the center of gravity of economic prosperity shifted to England, and it became one of the biggest powers in the world at that time. And the nature of the machines that were built were very huge, very large, very complex. We will see a little bit more about it shortly. But the reason why the machines were very complicated is because the people who built these machines have never seen cotton plant, and how cotton is grown from a plant. Instead, all that they knew was cotton comes in densely packed bales from a ship, and the blocks of white fibers have to be torn open. That's all that they knew. And the picture here is actually from a famous book by a very reputed scholar as recent as 1887. And he imagined that the cotton plant is one where lambs grow, and then the fleece of the lamb is cotton. And the machines to process the cotton were actually built about 100 years prior to even this book being published. So this is the reason why the process became very complicated, messy, and expensive. Um, this will take you through a short overview. I do not know if you're able to hear any background music. Are you able to hear?
No, sir. There's no background noise.
That's fine. I will, then I'm free to talk. So I'm taking you through the different steps in the cotton value chain. The first step is the one of separating the seeds from the cotton. And after that, like I told you, since the origin of this technology is about taking cotton on ships, the cotton is pressed into very dense bales with a pressure of about more than 100 tons. And this actually causes all the fibers to get tightly entangled with each other. But the good thing about this is that then it is easy to transport the bales over long distances. Once it reaches a spinning mill, the entire effect of pressing into bales has to be undone, and there is a long series of operations: plucking, then tearing, and then beating, and then blowing. And all of this is very complex and involves heavy machinery, which are very expensive and take a lot of power too. This is just an overview of the different things that are done to the cotton just to undo the effect of pressing it into bales. At the end of which, the fiber quality comes back to what it was when it was first plucked. And then the actual processing of the fibers begins. There are a couple of stages. One is called drawing, and the other is called simplex. And after that, the cotton is ready to be spun. And these complex processes are affordable only if the scale of the operation is very large. But finally, when it comes to spinning, the spinning spindle itself is a very small piece of equipment. If it runs for 8 hours at fairly high speeds, tens of thousands of RPM, it will produce barely 100 grams. So this is the broad overview of how cotton is made into yarn. And of course, subsequently, there are other steps like making the yarn into fabric, the fabric into end products like apparel, and so on. So let me just a moment. So the summary of what I showed you is that we start with bales of cotton where billions of fibers are entangled, and then we run the cotton through a sequence of operations to finally return it back to a state where the fibers are all separated from each other, and of course any entangled extraneous material, what is called as trash, it could be fragments of leaves, small dust particles and other things, are all removed. And because of the complexity of the operation, the smallest scale at which the operation is viable is about $10 million, capacity of about 25,000 spindles. The question that Professor Rao will be addressing today is, can we reimagine the industry in such a way that with a much smaller footprint, the entire operation is accessible to collectives of small producers? And before I hand over to Professor Rao, here is a very brief background about him. I have already spoken about his professional achievements so far, and the Textile Industry Development Institute at Ethiopia was one of the different things that he was architect of. And of course, I know him for a long time from the early 90s when he was a professor at the textile department in a university in the city where I live. Over to you, Professor Rao.
Thank you, Mr. Kannan, for setting the context. Let me first say good morning to all my participants from East, and good evening to all participants from West, and good afternoon to my participants from this subcontinent. Am I audible?
Yeah, very much. Please go ahead.
I will share the screen.
You can do that, or I have shared, of course.
Okay.
So let me hand over to you otherwise. I will stop sharing. Let me just check out how to.
I think you can continue with that.
Okay, fine.
You can continue with that.
Okay, yeah.
Just to give a small background of what the points I'm going to highlight, to set the context, I thought let me first talk to you all about the African Asian cottons briefly, and what are the opportunities we have in terms of value addition, and what are the opportunities we have lost, and how do we encash the current scenario that is existing in the international market for value addition. And then how do we go about, and that's where our innovation on micro textile enterprise will come, where we will be showing you the integrated business model, followed by video presentation, where we have successfully implemented these proposals, what we are talking now in terms of micro spin and hand operated or the solar operated weaving. And finally, we will come out with the success stories where we have implemented these projects in India and Philippines, which are now ready to take off to other African countries and Asian countries. And followed by that, what is that you must do next? And then questions and answers if there are any. So can I go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Kannan?
Yeah, I'm just going.
Are you able to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We understand that there are 26 countries, excluding India, participating in this webinar. So let me begin with by giving cotton cultivation in these countries very briefly. This information is necessary basically for us to understand what are the opportunities we have it and what are the opportunities we are likely to get in case we have a progressive thinking of going for a value addition. Next. Let me first talk about the African cottons before I go for Asian cottons. African cottons, you have to go for it. Now, there are 37 out of 54 countries in Africa produce cotton. And we understand that majority of them are unorganized small farms. They contribute to country's economy quite significantly. Their productivity is very low. These are some of the highlights, which we said the productivity is low because of inadequate supply of quality inputs, like in terms of quality seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and things like that. Lack of knowledge regarding sustainable production techniques. That means they do not have the right kind of expertise to cultivate this cotton. And unfavorable policies and political stability is also one of the reasons why the productivity is low. And when we talk about the relative fiber length, it is reasonably a good fiber, and it is suitable to spin yarns and produce a wide range of fabrics. Another notable feature of African cottons is that most of the African countries have accepted GM cotton. which is not actually a organic cotton, but it has got a green initiative in that because we do not use a lot of pesticides. Can you go to now the last point which I would like to now share is that majority of the raw cotton is exported without value addition. This is the major issue on which we are going to focus in this webinar and see how we can improve upon it. Now, we understand that the world production in 2018, the lint is 24,651,687 tons, out of which the Africa's production is 6.3%. And if you see on the right side, the graph which I have shown, where you find that between 2008 and 2009 and 2007 and 18 and 19, almost all the cotton that is produced in Africa has been exported without giving any value addition and then exporting it. So why it is so? So let us ask the first question for today's webinar. Is it not feasible for the third world countries to export value-added cotton products? My immediate answer to this is yes, it is economically feasible. If it is economically feasible, why we were not able to do all these years, and what is the way ahead? How do we do it? This is how the context has been set for today's presentation. Now, as far as the African cottons, if you talk about the advantage of African cottons compared to other cottons produced in advanced countries like, let us say, Australia, China, United States, even in other developing countries like Brazil and all, where the cotton is picked using a machine, whereas in African countries and also in most of the Indian cultivation practices, it is hand-picked. Hand-picked has got its own advantages because it is fully matured balls are picked. Plus, we also find it is environment friendly and there are less chemical contamination. Unlike in the case of machine picking, you find that apart from cotton balls, it also picks soil, leaves, twigs, and all those things. And use of defoliants also makes it chemically contaminated. So, in essence, hand-picked cotton should command higher price than the machine-picked in the international market. Is that the case? It is not so. Because the advantage which African cottons have, it has been lost. In spite of good quality and hand-picked, American cottons do not command high price because of two reasons. One, presence of high amount of foreign materials in terms of metal, wire, stone, dust, wood, oil, insect, all kinds of foreign materials you find along with the cotton which has been exported from Africa. And another very important point is mixing of the lots. Cotton produced from different areas are mixed. This is one of the very serious points. In fact, I will be dwelling on this particular point where Africa has lost its advantage when I go to towards end of my presentation and how we were able to sort this so that the African cotton can command good price. Now, the presence of foreign materials is mainly because of inappropriate infrastructure, improper handling methods, use of plastics, and improper storing and inadequate transport facilities. Now, at this juncture, I would like to emphasize one point that this is a very serious point on which we need to address in order to make sure that African cottons command respect. Now, go to the next slide. Now, we understand that there are 12 African countries which are participating in this particular webinar. Burkina Faso, Egypt, Ethiopia, Gambia, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, Malawi, Namibia, Nigeria, Sudan, and Zimbabwe. I request all the participants, in case we have missed any of your countries in this particular slide, please raise it in your chat box. We will make sure that that is also accommodated, because as far as our knowledge is concerned, based on the information available in the public domain, these are the countries which are active in Africa for cotton production. I mean, among the African countries, AARDO members we are talking about. Go to the next slide. Now, if you look at the cotton lint production, the AARDO members contribute to about 39.2% of African production, which also contributes to 2.4% of the world cotton. And if you look at the cotton lint production in 2018, for all these 12 countries, starting from Sudan, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Zambia, Malawi, Ghana, Kenya, Gambia, Morocco. Namibia was producing some time back, but not now. So here again, I request the webinar participants, if in case we missed the data from any of your other countries, please inform us. As I understand, this is the results data available in the public domain. Accordingly, we are taken for the latest, which is 2018. Can you go to the next slide? Next slide.
Yeah, just a minute.
So if you look at the status of the cotton count for all these countries, Sudan, Egypt, and Nigeria. Now, I think you will have to go a little slower. When I say then you go to the click, okay?
Yeah.
So Sudan, Egypt, and Nigeria are in the process of reviving the past glory. The policies are directed to establish new textile factories. Way back in 70s and 80s, all these three countries were flourishing in textiles. And I remember Nigeria and Egypt and Sudan were leaders in those days. But due to various internal and external factors, the industry started declining, and somewhere in the mid 80s and 90s is almost disappeared, especially in Nigeria. Whereas in Sudan and Egypt, we still have the industry. But the recent reports have shown me that the industry, the textile factories are becoming a little old, and the government is seriously thinking of reviving these industries. Next. Now, if you look at Ethiopia and Kenya, these are the two emerging countries in the recent past. Over the last 15 years or so, both the countries have shown significant growth. And their growth is again only in the apparel industry, not in fabric and yarn manufacturing. With the result, they still depend upon import of the raw materials, especially the fabrics and yarns, to meet their export needs. In essence, the textile factories are there, but then they are still not come up to the level to meet the demand what the garment industry, their local garment industry requires. So this is another point which we have to make a note with reference to the present context of micro textile enterprises. Next. Morocco has made a headway in cut, make, and trim manufacturing of denim and fashion garments to export to Europe, especially to Spain and France. So there again, it is only CMT, but they don't have the supply of raw materials. They have certain advantages because they are much closer to European countries, especially for Spain. There's a lot of chances if they go for value addition. Next comes the Burkina Faso. According to the information available in the public domain, Burkina Faso has no plan for exports and yarns, export of yarns and fabrics, but they're still doing only raw cotton export. Next. Next. Malawi, Ghana, Gambia, Zambia are on the lookout for avenues for textile, establishing textile factories. However, major challenges in some of these countries is cheap imports from China and Vietnam, and also availability of smuggled pre-owned clothes. So in essence, what we find is that there are countries which have shown some interest to go for forward integration rather than exporting cotton. There are some countries are already in process of establishing the textile factories. There are some countries which have still not thought about it the way they should think about. Next. Next. So in short, though cotton is abundantly available and is exported, most of the countries are unable to convert to yarns and fabrics. Can you go to the next slide? Next. Now let us see the cotton cultivation from Asian countries. First, among the Asian countries present in this webinar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam have shown recent past a substantial growth in the production and export of apparels to both European Union and USA. Here again, I would like to emphasize that their exports is mostly in synthetic fabrics, not much in cotton, because their cotton cultivation is again very limited. For example, Vietnam, I remember to have seen certain articles present in the public domain that Vietnam was producing cotton, but later on it started encouraging cultivation of other crops because cotton was not considered to be very lucrative for the farmers. However, they depend on import of cotton fabrics because of cotton cultivation is minimal and there are very few spinning factories in these factories. So my focus here is that like Vietnam and Bangladesh, where the cotton cultivation is very limited, where they are trying to switch over to other sorts of crops instead of cotton, there is again an opportunity for them to revive cotton and go for value addition. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, I did not get much information to talk about cotton cultivation there. Can you go to the next slide? Now, cotton cultivation seems to be gaining importance in Oman and Afghanistan, as per some recent reports. While Taiwan and Malaysia stopped cotton cultivation since 1970s. Like what I said in the case of Vietnam, Taiwan and Malaysia too have switched over from cotton-based textiles to synthetic-based textiles. I just wanted to point out one particular important issue here is that it is a cotton which is going to survive for times to come. It is a cotton which is going to demand more price than the synthetics. So the countries which were having the practice of cultivating cotton, which they have stopped, have to now relook and see whether cotton should be cultivated. If cotton has to be cultivated, how do we make it more attractive, both to the farmer as well as for the whole country in food. Now, as far as Pakistan and Uzbekistan, they produce substantial quantities of cotton and also cater to export market. Recently, I had an opportunity to interact with some of the government officials of Uzbekistan, where they did say that there is a need for modernization of their textile factories, and they're also on the lookout for alternate avenues for value addition. Next. Now, before I come to this particular slide, at this juncture, I just wanted to get some kind of feedback, if there is any, from all the webinar members who are present here. The overview which we have given, the importance these countries have given for cotton cultivation is what we try to summarize here in order to set the context and so that you will appreciate the reason why we should go for value addition. If you want to go for value addition, what is the way out? Is it the conventional path of establishing a regular textile mill, or is it something else that is available, which will be more attractive, which can be done much faster? So if you desire, I will stop for a minute. If there are any queries or any suggestions, any further inputs on what I had talked about cotton cultivation, you're most welcome. Kanan, can you just lead there, whether there are any suggestions in the chat box?
Yeah, I just saw the chat box. I didn't find any questions.
Okay.
There were some comments. Some people were surprised that their country has stopped cotton production.
Okay. Okay. Anyhow, if there are any questions or suggestions, you're most welcome to put it in the chat box. We can take it towards the end. Can we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Next slide. This is a simple way of presenting what a cotton producing country can encash on. If you have 100 hectares as a cotton cultivation, it can create 200 jobs with an investment of $50,000. It can show a result of $1 million. So this is the kind of opportunity now we have with us. Yeah, next slide. Now, assuming that if 40% of African cotton is value added, then it will result in 2 million jobs, 11 billion USD in form of foreign exchange. And you will be processing about 2.2 million bales, and the cultivation will be in 1.1 million hectares. So I think I have set the context now to say why value addition is necessary. And now I'm coming to the second important point. If we desire to have this value addition, what is the way forward? Correct? So why are we talking about value addition now in this current situation of pandemic? So let us see what is the favorable situation we have today. One is the favorable market forces. The current scenario is such that traditional markets of USA and Europe are keen to diversify the sourcing from China to developing and LDCs, least developed countries. That's mainly because of political, non-political, and commercial reasons. Now, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Bangladesh, Thailand, and of course, Sri Lanka, I just missed it here, have taken advantage of a restructured sourcing pattern. They have already entered and taken advantage of the favorable market situation because China is slowly withdrawing from textiles. Next.
So, Professor, there is a question in the chat box from.
Should we take it after this slide?
This is about the thing that you had just said a little while ago. So I thought in the context, if you can respond to it, it will be good.
Yeah, please.
This is Michael Sihon Samuel. How can we restore the devalued worth of hand-picked cotton compared to valued machine-picked cotton? That's the question.
Sir, we will definitely answer to this question. The reason why we are meeting today in this webinar is basically to address this particular point. Please bear with me for another 10-15 minutes. You will have the answers before you. Am I okay, sir? Is it okay?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Apart from the conventional markets like US and Europe, countries like Russia, Australia, and Japan are also express their interest in importing textiles from developing countries as imports from China are becoming expensive. In other words, the market is now wide open and there are ample opportunities for new players to pitch in, where I said Vietnam and all have already taken advantage. Africa is yet to take it. Now, the another advantage is easy market access to European Union and USA, where all of you are fully aware because of favorable trade agreements. Next. Another important point is availability of genetically modified cotton. Now that most of the African cotton producing countries have in principle agreed to go for GM cotton, though they are not organic cottons, but then they definitely be labeled under green products because we do not use pesticides and all. So the kind of cotton we are going to use it is also something which world would like to have it. And of course, the another important point is that most of the African countries have young people, so it is the duty of the government to make sure that enough job opportunities are created, especially at the village level. Next. Now, if these are the favorable conditions, now let us understand what are the challenges to establish textile factories. Now, there may be reasons why these countries are not able to think. They can think about it, but they're not able to implement the plans to go for forward integration. Not that the government is not aware, not that business people are not aware. The stakeholders are fully aware of that value addition is something which they should look for. But then why they could not go all these times? The first and the foremost is finance. To establish a textile factory, you require huge amount of finance. How to mobilize this finance? That's a major challenge. The second point is textile is highly power intensive. Most of these countries do not have enough power. So this is the second point, the second challenge which the industry, the government is facing. The third is the technology has developed so much, you require really qualified and skilled workforce. Without qualified skilled workforce, if a country wants to establish a textile factory, my sincere advice, please don't do it unless it is put in place. Because all these high-end machines work at a very high speed, and you cannot afford to stop this machine even for a minute. So unless you have qualified skilled workforce running these machines, is going to be a big liability unless otherwise you put the skilled workforce in place. The next one is ancillary units to supply spare parts. This may look a little irrelevant to some of the people here, but out of my experience, especially with African countries, there are some African countries imported the huge machines. They ran the machines for about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Afterwards, because of some reason or other, the parts are broken, or there are no spare parts, there is wear and tear. They could not import the spare parts because of various reasons. So whatever investment they made about 6 months back is a waste, and the machines are lying idle. So if you want to start a textile factory of that nature, you also have to give focus to see that the ancillary units and supply of spares are all in line, so that whatever machines you purchase, they go in line and they don't stop for want of spares. So I thought that these are the major challenges which the countries are facing, and that is one of the reasons why they could not really go for forward integration. Now, in addition to these technical or operational challenges, there are other challenges also. The political stability and conducive policies, the logistics support, that is in terms of transportation, banking, digital services. In fact, when we interacted with some of the African countries, when we wanted to do some banking services, most of the banks have told that these countries are high-risk countries. With the result, transaction costs will be very high. So we do have other challenges in terms of banking, transportation, and of course, digital services. Today, digital services is something which is very important for quick and immediate communications. And of course, so far, the African countries have certain issues like confidence building among the buyers in terms of honoring the commitments, that is quality, quantity, timely delivery, schedules, etc. So these are the challenges, plus networking with international buyers. These are the challenges which the countries are facing. Now, the last one, which I just now clicked in, is the gestation period would be high to put in place the above facts. Now, all these aspects, if you want to put in place, it will take minimum to minimum about 3 years. Now, in a country like India, where we have the textiles going in full swing, even if I want to start a textile factory, it takes minimum about a year and a half or so for me to see the first meter of the fabric coming out of the factory. That is the kind of time lapse between investing and taking the actual production. So the gestation periods would be very high in underdeveloped countries. So this is another reason why there's a big challenge in starting a textile factory. With the result, there is a dicey proposition to establish textile factories in some of these countries. When I said is a dicey proposition, is a risk. Now the risk can be in terms of either monetary risk or a business risk. So people hesitant to really start a textile factory in all these countries, even though they produce cotton. Correct? So the question is that, what is the solution? Now let us come to the last and let's come to the most important slide of today's webinar. What is the feasible solution to set up the textile units? Kanan? Yeah. To overcome the challenges and to make best use of the current favorable export markets conditions, it would be wise to set up micro textile manufacturing units, as they would bring in socio-economic benefits quickly with minimum risk. I want you to follow the last line of this particular sentence. It is, what we require today is the benefits should come out immediately. I cannot wait for 3-4 years to get the benefits. So can I get the benefits as early as possible, maybe in a span of 3 months, 4 months, 5 months? Plus, the risk taking should be as minimum as possible. As I said, the risk in terms of financial risk as well as the business risk. So this particular suggestion, what we are giving is something to answer the immediate quick returns with minimum risk. So how do we justify my statement? The salient features what we are talking about is the small size solar powered production unit starting from ginning to weaving enables granular increase of capacity instead of calling for large upfront investments. Now, this is the point I just wanted to tell you, that if you have a conventional textile mill producing, let's say, about 150 to 200 tons per day, then it takes about 3 to 4 years or 3 years for you to establish. And till such time, you cannot do anything. And subsequently, when you want to increase, you can only double your capacity. Whereas the model which we are suggesting is a granular increase. So what I'm suggesting is that a unit of about 200 kgs per day production. So I can have a 200 kgs production in place, test it, and then if I want to increase it, I can increase it in the next 6 months or 8 months in terms of 150 or 200 kgs. That means as and when I'm expanding, I'm also learning and trying to address all the issues which are cropping up. Unlike in a conventional textile mill, where I put everything in place, produce 150, 200 tons of every day, and then face the challenges. The other advantage is I'm going for a granular increase of capacity, which gives me sufficient time to midterm corrections as and when I expand it. This is another major advantage of this present setup, what we are talking about. And to give you to highlight this, every small cotton farm about 2.5 hectares can create full-time jobs, resulting in manifold value addition over the farm produce. This will boost the local economy and provides equitable opportunity for growth. Now, generates employment opportunities at village level. I need not emphasize the importance of generating opportunities, job opportunities at the village level, because in all the countries, including India, we would prefer to have job opportunities at the rural rather than in metros. So it gives an opportunity where cotton is grown, there itself you have an opportunity to create employment. Plus low investment costs with minimal environmental impact because it's completely solar. In addition to these salient features, if you go to the next slide, the process being modular, correct? For those who are not familiar with the textile export market, if you talk about the fashion industry changes almost every season. There are 3 months of summer, 3 months of winter, 3 months of autumn, 3 months of winter. So the buyer wants that whatever is the current fashion, you should supply it within those 3 months. In fact, for those who are familiar with this particular industry, they say that you get an order today to deliver yesterday itself. That is the kind of urgency with which you are supposed to do it. This kind of flexibility for small orders, being a fashion, the orders are going to be small. Being small orders and quick delivery times, it is a modular approach is much better than conventional textile mill. Next. Now, one may wonder, when we are miniaturizing the whole textile mill, there may be some kind of a compromise on the quality. I can tell you that the quality is not compromised at all, because all the quality control parameters which are there in the state-of-art technologies are there in this particular micro spinning unit. Next is, as the value chain is completed at village level, the probability of lint contamination won't crop up. Now, this is a point, if you can correlate with what I given in the earlier, where I said that African cottons lost their opportunity because of mixing up of the lots. Now, because here, the probability of the crops getting mixed up from different areas will not take place, because it is converted into yarn and fabric at the same place, and it is not from a different place. Plus, being a less number of people involved in this whole value chain, it is easy to educate and control them and monitor them, rather than Somebody cultivates the cotton, somebody picks cotton. So, am I audible? So last but not the least is the eco-friendly and sustainable way of production. So these are all the features which are there, which will help in a Gopher micro textile enterprise. Can you go to the next one? Now, what is the process flow? The process flow is like your conventional process flow. There's absolutely no change. You have the cotton cultivation, followed by microspin, followed by dyeing, followed by weaving preparatory, followed by weaving. Now, the key differentiators are solar operated miniature ginning and spinning and the modified hand or solar operated. Now, these are the two things which are different from your conventional thing. Otherwise, the process flow remains the same. Now, I think, Kannan, can you play this video or you have an issue?
Yeah, I'll play it.
You have voice?
The achievement also the 565, that is the 35% beyond percent.
Has millions of fibers.
No, there is no audio.
Okay.
Entangled with each other.
No, I
You're
think,
not.
no, 1 minute. Let me share my screen. You
Okay.
close your screen and let me
Yeah.
see from my this thing whether I can put this audio.
Yeah.
Oh, oh. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. But you're not shared your screen.
Oh, is it there?
No.
Screen is not shared?
Just a handful of cotton lint has millions of fibers.
Is my screen shared or not?
Yes, yes.
It's shared, no?
Sir, Dr. Rao, we request you to click this little green button at the bottom. It says share screen.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I think it is shared. I'm able to see.
We are not able to see, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think I'm seeing. I'm not seeing his screen. I'm seeing my screen, I think.
Sir, maybe you can stop your screen sharing and Dr. Rao will get it.
Can you stop your share screening? I've already shared my screen.
Yeah, I think the organizers are trying to say it by themselves.
Sorry, we see only your pictures, not your screen.
Is my screen shared now?
No.
Just a handful of cotton
But
lint.
the
has
audio is
millions
coming.
of fibers.
For some reason, the video is not.
Fibers of unequal length,
Are you able?
entangled with each other.
You're not able to share.
Sir, screen was not still shared.
Yeah.
Kannan sir, do you mind sending the link to us in the chat box? We will share it from our end.
Yeah, I've actually shared the presentation with Naresh.
Ujjwala
Sure,
ji,
sir. We'll pray it from our side, sir. So
Yeah.
give us a minute.
Sir, is this the video in the slide?
The 36th slide.
36 slide. Okay, okay. I'll play it. I'll play it from my side.
No, the previous screen had the video. Previous screen. The green screen. Yeah. Yeah, it's playing.
Just a handful of cotton lint has millions of fibers, fibers of unequal length, entangled with each other. Fragments of leaves, seeds, and fine dust are trapped within the fibers. It is quite a challenge to clean them, remove the very short fibers, and separate every fiber individually. Conventionally, this has involved huge and power-guzzling machines. The microspin blow card is set to change that. Like the handheld mobile device that is today more powerful than the earliest mainframe computers. The machine settings are easily configured by an app. No bother of changing gears or applying grease. Cotton lint is taken in by a conveyor. Cotton can also be blended with other natural and synthetic fibers simply by placing them as two layers on the conveyor. The fibers are opened, cleaned, and carded by mechanisms that act on air rather than mechanical impact. As a result, the fibers retain their natural life and bounce. The emerging clean and fine web of fibers is converged into a continuous sliver and collected in cans through a coiler arrangement. Should the sliver break due to any disturbance, sensors detect it and pause the material flow. The operator can then rejoin the sliver and resume the machine. The coiler is mechanically autonomous of the rest of the machine, connected by a mere cable to synchronize electronically. This makes for ease of installation and maintenance. Targeted suction evacuates fine dust and very short fibers. Heavier trash is separated by gravity and collected in trays. The entire machine, combining the operations of the blowroom line and carding, runs on a mere 48 volts of power. A tower lamp signals the operator about the state of the machine and if any intervention is needed. The simplicity and ease of the blow card is due to painstaking attention to engineering detail. Teflon coated rollers, aircraft grade aluminum body, close settings that are easy to maintain, precision ground bolts with stainless steel inserts, energy efficient BLDC motors, and a circuit of suction tubes for clean operation. The blow card represents the convergence of all that is best in technology to deliver a solution that is as simple to use as a kitchen appliance.
I suggest the organizers to control the PowerPoint presentation. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do it, sir. We'll do it from our.
I want you to, then you go to the next slide.
Yes, sir. Just a
I
minute.
think it's better you control it because there are other videos also. There should not be any problem or interruption. Next one. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Next. Yeah. Go to the presentation mode. You're not in the presentation mode, are you?
Yes, sir. I'm in I'm in the presentation mode.
Okay. Now, another point which we would like to place it before all the member countries who are producing cotton is that wherever cotton is grown, handlooms are also there. But unfortunately, what happened is that the handloom industry, rather handlooms were never seen any development. Even today, the handlooms in most of these countries, including in India, we find that they're as primitive as about 200 years old. That is one of the reasons why the younger generation is not willing to come to handlooms. One, there's a low production, so the earning capacity is less. Second, it is highly strenuous. So we thought that to complete the complete value chain, we need to focus on developing a handloom, developing a loom which can be either hand operated or a solar operated, but it must have certain comfort level for the weaver to be more conducive to go and sit on the loom, and it will be less strenuous and it will be more energetic for him to work on this rather than taking this and having pain in the back and the hands and legs. So using a CAD software, we have designed a handloom where it makes very comfortable for the weaver, and at the same time, the production of this loom can be as high as 80 to 100 picks per minute, which is much, much higher than the conventional handlooms present in most of these places, which normally goes for about 20, 25 picks per minute. So along with this spinning, we have also focused on modernizing the handloom so that it will be more productive for the weaver to come and work on a loom. Now, when I said handlooms, it can be hand operated. We also have given the provision to operate these looms with the solar also. So we are now trying to give a solution wherein the complete conventional textile mill can be brought down to as low as what you have seen in this. Now, before we go further down, we would like to show you the success stories where we have implemented this. Can you go to the next slide? Organizers, next slide, next. Yeah, this is the loom which we have developed, which is further undergoing developments. Next. Next slide. Now, in this thing, there's no animation in this? Okay.
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay, now in this case, you see the difference between this and the conventional loom is that I see a bar on the top. What is this? That is hiding the title. Now it's okay.
Fine now, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Now the difference between this and the conventional thing is the cotton that is entering into the conventional is the baled cotton, but here it is entering into the hand in the form of a hand-picked cotton balls, because ginning is also a part of spinning which we have included it. And if you see on the right-hand side in the top, the floor space required for this complete operation of spinning to weaving, of course, excluding dyeing and hand weaving, is only 1,000 square meters. It's got gin, pre-clean, soft bale, followed by blow card, then draw frame, simplex, ring frame, and cone winder. They're all your conventional, which have been miniaturized. Then the yarn can go for dyeing or it can go for weaving in a hand loom, which we suggest to have it at home, because most of the looms are at home, and where about 20 families can work on this. And afterwards, the it will come back to this integrated business campus where it can go for inspection and then dispatch. Can you go to the next one? Next. Yeah. Now let us see the success stories. Can you play the next video? Is there a video there?
Yes, there is a video there.
No, there is no video. No, there's no video. I want you to show video.
There is a video there.
No, it's not there.
I think, yeah. It is an embedded video link. It will link with YouTube, where the video is hosted. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the one which was established in India. Completely solar operated. What you are seeing is the genie. This is your blow card. This is combining both blow room and the carding. Separate video of blow card you have already seen. The power sliver is there. When it is going to the draw frame. Draw frame is miniaturized with the conventional draw frame only. We made it small. This is the drawn sliver. And it is going to the simplex, which is again miniaturized. This is the simplex. And this is the ring frame. Here we have two versions. One is haircut type, the other is regular spindle. You can see this is your doubling. This is your conventional ring frame which has been miniaturized. And it is warping and winding. And this is your dyeing which we have put it in the same place. And these are the range of fabrics they are making. So this unit is running for the last 2 years in India, in a place called Amravati, where cotton is grown in Maharashtra. So this is one success model we have to show you, which has been tested for the last 2 years or more. Can you go to the next slide? This is something which has been installed in Philippines. Kanan, can you just take forward?
Yeah. So this is an initiative of the Philippines Department of Agriculture at 3 different locations in Philippines. We have installed these units. The main idea being to revive local cultivation of cotton and the activities involved in the value chain. They still have some traditional handlooms, but otherwise hardly any cotton is grown, and they are mostly deluged with synthetic yarn from China. So it is to change this and give a boost to the local economy that these units have been installed, and these are operated by local cooperatives formed of the local producers. That's the background. Over to you, Professor.
Can you go to the next slide? Next.
These are all just some views from Philippines. What you see on the right-hand side is a close-up of one of the traditional handlooms. On the top left is a typical weaving shed having the traditional handlooms. Next slide, please.
So this is in brief about what we are trying to project it for African countries and some of the Asian countries. No need.
Go back. Yeah.
Go back. So now, to cut short the whole thing and put it in a simple way, what we tried to do is that it is the Britishers who first tried to develop an industry where cotton was never grown and cotton will never grow for times to come. So they had taken cotton all the way from this continent and this subcontinent and taken to Manchester through Liverpool port. So in order to transport the cotton, which is highly voluminous and bulky, they compressed it. They compressed it to such an extent, it's about 5,000 psi for the purpose of transportation. And then there they went and opened it. It is fortunate or unfortunate, we are following the same logic to transport cotton from a farm to the spinning mill. And so we are spending huge amount of money, energy, efforts in terms of opening the cotton and presenting it to the ring frame to make the yarn. So what we suggest here in simple terms is, if you can have a small spinning and weaving unit inside the village where cotton is grown, you can completely eliminate the baling and pressing. With the result, you can completely eliminate the whole blow room and carding and combine both of them into a simple unit, which is a blow card. That's how we were able to achieve a textile unit which is affordable for small and medium scale units to start with. So this is in short about our innovation. Now I want the audience, the members who are present in this webinar, to have any questions. We are too eager to answer to you. Then we will say, how do we proceed further? That we take it later, after hearing the feedback from all of you. Now it is open to discussions. Kannan, I think you can take a lead.
Sure. There is a question that somebody has asked in the chat for a solution to the sucking pest attack, whitefly, and bollworm and pink bollworm, etc. This is from Dr. Sabin Fatima.
With reference to this particular cotton bollworm and things like that, it is not within the purview of our expertise, because we are more on the technology side, not on the cotton cultivation side. But still, I will try to answer it in a different way. Now that most of the African countries have gone for GM cotton, probably all such things will not be there in the case of GM cotton, but we are not the competent people to talk about that. I'm sorry about it.
So any other questions? People can speak up, no problem. There is a question saying, what is the approximate cost of the whole setup? The specifics will depend upon a lot of details of how individual units are configured. To answer the question about the cost, overall, it will be sub $500,000 compared to something that would be like $10 to $20 million for a conventional setup.
I will just supplement what Professor Krishnan has said. We have purposely silent on the cost because it varies from country to country. But what Kannan said is the indicative price. We also have certain other models where the cost can be further brought down, especially when you have, I think most of you must be aware of what is called charka spinning, which in India is there, where the cost can be further brought down. And whatever cost which Professor Krishnan has said, this will be for a daily production of 200 kgs of fabric. This we are talking including handlooms, spinning and weaving put together. This will produce about 200 kgs per day of 24 hours working. Am I clear?
Yes, Professor Rao, that was clear. So I'm just to slightly emphasize what Professor Rao said. The model we are giving starts right from ginning and goes all the way up to the fabric.
Now there is a question whether it can be cooperative. Now this is exactly what I was silent now. Now that there is a question has come, this particular approach can be done in different ways. One, the government can take the initiatives and local cooperative movements can be started. Because if you look at the growth of the cotton in the textile industry, it was always a cooperative movement, because earlier, before the textile machinery had come in vogue, the cotton was cultivated by somebody, and a person next to him in the next house, there's a neighbor, used to go for hand spinning, and then somebody will do dyeing and somebody will do hand weaving, like that. So this is the best model for cooperative approach, where you can develop the clusters, bring in all the stakeholders together, and that will give a lot of understanding and synergy, and make things much easier at the village level, because everything is right under one roof. Am I clear, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any further questions on that?
There is a question from
Good morning, sir.
Muhammad Ahmed. What is your prediction about the future of cotton industry in Egypt?
The reports that I have seen about the cotton industry in Egypt is that the industry has now trying to revive. The government policies have come up. I understand recently there are also some association which had come, and they have wanted to start about 6 textile factories there. Now, I think cotton has Egypt has an advantage, being one of the best possible cottons available in the world. And no wonder the synthetics are giving some kind of a competition, but today it is more environment friendly and eco-friendly. So cotton will continue to be there, and Egypt will always command the respect which it had in prior to 80s. It will continue.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is about the long stable and short stable. That's what we have in Sudan. Previously, we have a cotton long stable, and if
Could you briefly introduce yourself? Your voice is not audible. I think you're on mute.
Can you repeat your question?
I think he's on mute.
Has he put it in the chat box?
He has not put in the chat box. I think he's still
Hello?
speaking.
Yeah, please.
yeah, I'm Mr. Omar Sakin from Sudan, agriculture engineer. My question is that about the cotton long stable and short stable, which we have in our country previously. It's long stable, but nowadays the hybrid, which had been imported from India, it's a short stable, and this make a problem for the gain that we have, which is established in our country. It's for long stable, and the big problem that it cannot work nowadays, and you know, there's a lot of money will be lost. Is there any solution for this kind of gain?
Okay, I understand what you're trying to tell is that what is the future of cottons in Sudan, especially long staple cotton things you are talking. Am I correct?
Exactly, sir.
Okay. Now, I will give a little bit of background because it's a very pertinent question which you are asked. I'm sure that my friends from Pakistan and Bangladesh are here, where we used to spin a very fine count, what is called a Dhaka muslin. The fabric is so fine that the whole 6 meters of fabric can be put in a small matchbox. That's the kind of cotton we have. But those cottons were not long staple cottons like what we are talking about. Now, what has happened over a span of time, when you wanted to go for more production, the emphasis is on the quality of fiber. When you say the quality of the fiber in terms of staple length, in terms of strength, in terms of fineness and all those things. Because today we are talking about a spinning machine, spindle running at about 18 to 19,000 spindle RPM, and a loom running at about 600 to 800 picks per minute. So there is a huge demand for high quality fibers. There is no doubt on that. It is because of the development in the technology. But in our case, there are even unspinnable fibers which they're branded it today as unspinnable, which means which are not suitable for regular textile mill, will be suitable in this microspin for a simple reason that they're all working at relatively slow speed. So all those African cottons which you had earlier and which were told today as no market value and which are going in for what you call second grade end users like stuffing and things like that, surgical cotton, stuffing and there is a possibility of converting all those cottons into something which is spinnable, which can be made into a fabric which has got better value. Now, when you're talking about fabrics, what I'm talking about today is that close to 20 billion is the demand for home textiles all across the country, all across the world. So most of these home furnishings, like you can spin in smaller quantities because the demand is always for smaller quantities for these cottons, for these varieties. So the so-called unspinnable fibers are also suitable here. So you don't need to worry that my cotton quality is bad. How can I use it? You can still use it. We will be with you to take trials. I don't know whether I have answered you or not. Did
Yes.
I answer you, sir?
Yes, I think it was a comprehensive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a question from Gautam Singh. If a cooperative invests in this project, what about the after-sales service and spare part availability?
Sir, as far as the spare parts or availability are concerned, in the case of drop frame, fly frame, ring frame, is all conventional looms except that they have conventional machines, except that they have been miniaturized. And as far as pardon? Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Please continue. I think it was a
Side talk.
disturbance. Yeah, fine.
Okay. Now, as far as the blowout is concerned, as the video has clearly mentioned, even the change wheels, gear wheels are also not necessary. Everything is automated and they're dispensed with the gear wheels. And can you, Kannan, can you just explain how the consumption of spare parts have come down in this?
Yes. See, by and large, there are a few well-identified items which may wear out over time, and that that lifetime in which it will wear out is very predictable. So, in the beginning, we provide the users with a set of spares for those particular items, and whenever any of those items gets consumed, and if they notify us, we send them something to replace in their stock, so that they always have the required spares. They never run out of stock. This is the procedure we follow, which works very comfortably. Otherwise, if people wake up to the fact that they need a spare only after it becomes required to replace, then there could be probably a few days delay in reaching the spare to them, during which time the machine will be idle. So to avoid that, we give them a set of spares for commonly required items. This is the way we do. Are there any other questions? And Naresh, organizers, you can take over from us. There's a question here. Is there a scope for hand weaving also?
Yeah, I have already mentioned that there is a scope for hand weaving because even the looms have been modified. The looms have been also modified, one, to make it less strenuous and also increase the production.
And Naresh, etc., if you find that there are any questions on the YouTube channel, I'm not able to see that here, you can post them to.
We are compiling the questions from YouTube, so we'll just post in a bit.
Okay.
before we wind up, I just wanted a couple of audience at least, just give us how do you find this whole concept of microspinning? Can somebody, especially from people from countries like Burkina Faso or Chad or Nigeria or Ethiopia, I don't know whether those participants are here or not. Can somebody from those countries can give us some kind of a feedback that will help us to improve further? Is there somebody from Burkina Faso or Nigeria or Ethiopia? Organizers, can you just line up and find out?
Sure, sir.
Are there? Can somebody from African countries speak out how this concept will work out, what problems they will have?
We request all the participants to give their testimonials and also their experiences on to how Dr. Rob's question is applicable in their respective countries. We'll be glad to take your feedback and suggestions.
No, but often now that we have some time, can somebody talk from African countries? Somebody from Uzbekistan or Vietnam?
I think from Mr. Sir, I think from Sudan, Mr. Usman is very much there, that he can also share his experience. Mr. Usman?
Hello.
Yeah, please.
I want to give a comment about our country. Since 1930, Sudan is the area country production cottons. Since this area export to United Kingdom, after that, after Sudan is independent, cotton is similar the main cash crop in our country. Our Sudan budget depend on because bring cash crop without added value. But in recent years face problem because farmer the cultivation of cotton not bring benefit for their if cultivation cotton or other crops. But now a week ago held national conference, agriculture conference to solution all problem face farmers and agriculture sectors, put a clear strategy to put cash crops and in our consider exportation and added value chain to our to open our gallery because it's the first first country in the world that exportation cottons in area. I hope occur change. Thank.
Dr. Rao, we request you to unmute your mic.
Can we have some feedback from East African countries? Maybe from Kenya or Ethiopia or West African countries like Nigeria? Is there a representation from these countries?
Hello. Doctor, we are having one participant from Kenya, Miss Miriam. She can also share her experience with us.
Please.
Miss Miriam.
Yes, I'm Mojisala from Nigeria. Hello. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, I'm Mojisala from Nigeria. You just mentioned if we have representative on here, and I've actually been listening. I've been learning a lot. And well, when the chat you showed us, I could see Nigeria on it. But the major problem we have in Nigeria, as you mentioned, is the importation of fabrics from China, from foreign countries. And I know it has really affected us, even though for over a decade now,
Miss Moji, I think there is an internet problem from your side. Madam, we request you to please type it in the chat box.
Question that it is a good value addition approach, especially with small land holdings. Yeah, this is what our aim is, to bring everybody in line so that the equitable opportunities are for everybody, so that even small holding people also can go for value addition.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we are able to hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. This is Uzoma Nwokuri from Nigeria. As somebody was actually speaking from Nigeria initially, and I think the point she actually wanted to make was that our government have shifted attention from production of cotton, unlike it was before. I think we were not doing it like we were doing it like 10 years ago. Right now, it's just been petroleum, fuel and all that. But formerly, cotton was one of the one of the major things we produce.
Correct.
In Nigeria, especially at the northern part of Nigeria.
Correct.
But right now, it's not very, and it's not something we do often now. It's not something we put so much attention on.
Now,
our prayer is that we'll face things like this again and improve our production of it. Thank you.
No, this is exactly what I was trying to tell you, that Nigeria was once booming with the textiles in Dar es Salaam and all those places. But now that we have a new approach, the government can now review the situation and develop, because the basic system of working with textiles, Nigerians do know that. So what you now require is, instead of closing the textile industry, which was once flourishing, you can definitely look at starting on these lines, so that the old glory of cotton textiles can be brought back to Nigeria. Because
hello, can you hear me?
Till now, approach. Now we are feeling a way out. Yeah. Any other question?
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, madam,
we're able to hear you.
Okay, this is Mojisala from Nigeria. I was speaking earlier, and I noticed one of my brothers also.
Your voice is not clear. Your voice is not clear.
My voice is not clear.
Yeah, the voice is breaking. The link is not clear.
Okay, even up till now. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay.
Madam, we request you to please type in the chat box. There seems to be some internet connectivity issue.
Yes, it's internet connectivity issue.
We will take it from the chat box, madam.
Just send a message. Let me just send a chat. I'm sure it will attend to. The issue in Nigeria is not production when it comes to content. It's not.
So there is a question from Rajeshwari Kailasam. Can this method be applied to other fabrics like silk, nylon, muslin, jute, etc.?
Sir, you're mute.
Professor Rao, you are muted.
We can definitely take up this offline because today we are talking about cotton cultivation and our technology has been well proved. In the rest of the fibers, we are working on it. You're most welcome to talk to us on this. I just want to know whether anybody from Oman or Afghanistan or Malawi, because those are the countries which can definitely look for this
Hello,
kind of.
good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Sardar Wali Nuri. I am from Afghanistan. Thank you, Professor. It was a very interesting presentations. We have cotton cultivation in 5 provinces of Afghanistan. We have a very nice cotton, but unfortunately, we don't have any small scales technology or big size technology. My suggestion is that how we can to transfer this small size technology to Afghanistan to improve the value change of our country. Thanks.
Yeah, this is my presentation. That's the reason why I have prompted you to ask this question. To be very frank, please pardon me. I never knew that Afghanistan and Oman also produce cotton. I'm sorry about it. I came to know only through website, Google search. Now that Afghanistan has shown some interest in cotton cultivation, you are most welcome to talk to us, sir. Both India and Afghanistan have got good relationships. We will be definitely in a position to extend our full support in establishing a model unit like what we did in Maharashtra, in India. We can establish a full-fledged unit. We will be at your disposal to give the full services, where this particular concept is basically for small holder farmers. About 5, 10, 15, 20 of them can join together and work. You don't need to depend upon anybody else. Instead of selling your cotton, you can sell your fabric. So we are with you. I think you can definitely talk to the organizers through AARDO. We will be in a position to help you out and see that hand-holding can be done, and we will see that it is implemented in full spirit.
Okay, thanks. It is a very good ideas. Really, Afghanistan have a very nice and good relation with India. We also my suggestion is that to have a small scales technology, and we can continue this process to at least transfer 1 or 2 technology to our rural technology park for more process and administration to the farmer or poor people of Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And anybody from Oman or Vietnam or other countries like Malawi?
Dr. Rao, we have a question from a private chat. The question is, What are the challenges for Sudan and India in cotton farming, specifically in cotton fabric production?
If you are asking for challenges in cotton farming, definitely I am not the competent man to talk about because I don't have any agriculture background. But if you're talking about the proposals which we are talking, which we are now mentioned, is once the cotton is there in the plant, from there, how do we convert into fabric? We can definitely offer you all our services and make sure that the technology can be successfully taken up, especially in countries like, this is from Sudan, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Especially countries like Sudan, Sudan has got the complete, what do you call the DNA of textiles, because Egypt and Sudan are considered to be the best in those days. So there will not be any major challenge in converting the cotton to fabric using this technology. So I don't see any challenge in that. But if you are asking about challenge in cotton cultivation, I'm not the competent man to talk about.
Thank you, sir. So this is from Madam Moji from Kenya.
Yeah.
She has shared her thoughts in the chat box.
The major challenge of cotton industry in Nigeria is not really about production, but importance of cheap fabrics from foreign countries. What policies can be instrumental to help keep our farmers engaged and to revive our moribund factories without affecting our bilateral relationships? Regarding your first part of your question, I think the border areas should not have any porosity, and there should be no smuggling of foreign cheap fabrics into it. And as far as the second part is, what policies can be instrumental to help keep our farmers engaged? As I told you that it is for you people to bring it to the notice of the policymakers of your country to say that when you talk about value addition, don't think of a big textile factory, huge investments and a lot of gestation period, and then wait for huge orders. Even small farmers can now, with this technology, even small farmers can convert into a fabric, and you can assist them in locating the right kind of buyers. Now, there is another important point which has caught my mind now when you're talking about the policies. The government now can talk to the leading brands like Gap's, H&M, various M&S, the leading European and American brands, put this concept before them. The government can put this concept before them and say that here is a novel approach in the sense that it is totally green. There is absolutely no environmental impact. There is no energy consumed because everything is solar. No textile mill can run with solar. We work with solar. So carbon footprint will be zero-like. And second thing is it is a women empowerment, plus you will be creating a lot of job opportunities. So it all depends upon how your policymaker can package it. We will be in a position to help you out if you want any help from that side, and package it to the leading European buyers and American buyers and tell them that this is a new approach. You please be with us, because once they are convinced, things will fall, everything will fall in line. You will have a lot of courage in implementing it because you will have assured market. So my sincere advice at this stage is, you please ask your policymakers to connect you to the important major buyers of Europe and US and put this concept before them. And if you want to put this concept before them, IIT Chennai and we are at your disposal to frame and tell you what way this is totally different from the present system of sourcing the materials by all these leading brands. Because today they're all looking for green, environment friendly, and we have answered all the issues. So as a policymaker, you should place it before the policymakers. I think I have made my point very clear here. Is it okay now?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Similarly, there are countries which had cotton cultivation, but not now. And if you look at the table which I had given, there are few countries where cotton cultivation is very minimal. Now, whenever your cotton cultivation is minimal, you will not be in a commanding position to dictate in the international market. You are a very small, tiny player. So all those countries which have small amount of cotton production, I think you people should now look at this proposal to convert that into a fabric and do it, because you will have an edge over the others. So my request is all those countries, out of the 12 countries which are listed, the last 4 or 5 countries, can definitely look at it. And look, for example, Morocco has already in contact with Spain. That's what I understand. And they are doing technical textiles as a high-end textiles. So they can definitely initiate this process of going for other textile materials also, instead of simply going for cut, make, and trim, CMT. They should go for that. So my request is that those countries where the cotton cultivation is minimal now, among all the 12, they should look it seriously. And countries like Kenya, you are still depending on import. Ethiopia, you're still depending on import of cotton. Your textile factories will take a little longer time to establish. So you can also have this kind of approach where to some extent your demand will be met. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I am not here to replace the conventional textile fuse machines. I'm not saying that. All that I'm saying is this is also another way you can enter, and this can exist, this can coexist with the conventional textile mills, so that it answers both sides of the line. I think my friend from Nigeria, I have answered your question, madam.
Yes, she had acknowledged, yes.
Acknowledged, good, yeah. Good.
Professor, there is one question actually that it's a very good technique that you have just elicited. I think most of the participants are having one common question there. As you said that you have already transferred this technology to Philippines and some of the African countries. So that is there any specific framework or that or IPR include in this during the transfer of technology, or how they can be come in the frame or model that to make it this possible?
Kannan, would you like to share your experience on Philippines and Amravati?
Yeah, so it is not a mere transfer of technology. We supply the equipment, we erect it, install, commission, and train the people on how to operate. And subsequently also any support that they need, we are able to provide remotely, because we can capture performance data of the machines from the cloud and analyze what is going on, whether anything needs to be improved, all that. So it's an end-to-end support. It's not just a some knowledge transfer.
Thank you, Professor.
As Professor Kannan has said, the machine, you have online contact with the machine manufacturer in this. So any troubleshooting and all those things online, it can be answered. So there will be full support from the manufacturers on this.
Thank you, Professor.
What about my friends from Pakistan and Bangladesh? Are there any participants from Bangladesh?
Yes, Professor, we do have some participants from Pakistan and Oman as well. May Mr. Yahya is there that from Oman that he can also share his experience? Mr. Yahya?
The recent reports about Oman, it says that the government is keen to enhance the cotton production. That's what the recent report. I find, so Oman can also think of this. It all depends upon how we can present it to our policymakers, because most of the policymakers are not aware of this kind of technology that is available now. So this is basically to create an awareness. So my friend from Oman can throw some light on this. Is he there, Oman friend?
Mr. Kamal, do we have any more testimonials or any questions from AARDO member countries?
Question hasn't put it on the chat box.
We have 5 more minutes, sir, and we request all the participants to share their thoughts or ask any questions in the chat box, if any.
I think there is one gentleman from Yahya. I don't know from which country he is.
Yes, doctor, I'm here, doctor.
Yeah, you are on a mute. You have to unmute if you have any question.
No, doctor.
Mr. Yahya from Oman, that your voice is not audible.
Yes, doctor, I'm from Oman. You hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you. Can you throw some
yes,
light?
Sorry, because I have network problem, no?
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to...
No, I'm working as mechanical engineer in the Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay, okay.
18 years.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, doctor.
As a mechanical engineer, do you think this particular project will have any relevance to your country?
Doctor, sometime yes, sometime no, because some working now in different country, different areas. Oman is not like Indian country or agriculture country, or some mountains is there also.
Okay.
Okay, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
We still have another 4 minutes to take it forward.
I think, Professor, that you have given a very elaborated presentation. There is no questions. I think they have already got it, all the answers in your presentation.
May I know who is speaking that?
Yeah, it's Kamal Tameja this side from AARDO.
Okay, okay, okay.
There is one question from Pakistan. I think Professor Kanan can.
There is a comment from Dr. Sabin Fatima that the Pakistan textile industry is well established. Use of micro textile equipment is not only good for the farmers with small land holdings, but also helps in eliminating poverty by providing jobs.
So this is exactly what we are trying to address. That how do we help the small holding, land holding farmers, and how do we create the jobs in the village itself? And how do we make sure that even a small farmer can think of going for forward integration instead of huge investments required, and you find a handful of entrepreneurs are only benefiting. Here you find that even a small landowner can become an entrepreneur and take it forward.
There is one more observation from Kendi Jocelyn.
Okay.
In fisheries and aquaculture industry, this approach will have value addition in the manufacture of for fish feed, ingredients such as cottonseed cake.
I really don't know how I should react. All that I can say is that the farmer who is also doing the ginning in his village level, so he will have a lot of other income by cotton seed, through which he can extract the oil, he can take the cake. So he will also have several other benefits apart from converting the cotton into fabric. He's also having a value addition in terms of the other inputs, byproducts which he gets, like cotton seed oil and cake and things like that. Well, these are all other dimensions on which one can definitely look at it. But the broad outline at this stage is only one thing, that is, let the textile mill come to the cotton farm rather than take the cotton farm to a spinning mill. Correct? So instead of bringing the cotton to the spinning mill, we are bringing the mill to the village. That is the basic idea. And in the process, it has got all the benefits, and it has more accept in near future, it will be more acceptable, and it can coexist. I again repeat, it can coexist with the conventional textile mills. And this will be more suitable for small order quantities, fashion related industry, where the order quantities are small and big mills cannot afford to have it. So you're only trying to fill the gap, and it is not going to be a competition with them. It will be a win-win situation for all the stakeholders. I think we are now on the dot at 4 p.m. So it is the organizers which have to now what is the average cost benefit ratio of cotton crop? I think we have already highlighted this in our presentation, that 50, how much is Kannan? Can you just help? $50,000 can become 10 million, correct?
Yeah, about 100 hectares will have a primary agricultural yield of cotton of $50,000. But when it's value added, its value is equal to about $1 million. That's roughly the arithmetic.
So from this, you can calculate the cost benefit ratio.
Professor Kannan, actually, that you just shared the experience with the Philippines. If there is any document having that experience or the best practice from the Philippines, so we can also share this with our AARDO member countries. I think most of the questions, and as I asked, that how we can go ahead with the technology with the African countries, I think most of the questions will be answered with that document, if possible.
I can make a document and send it across. Definitely.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kamal. Thank you, Dr. Rao, and thank you, Professor Kannan. Thank you for bringing your vast experience in the field of textiles, and sharing your experiences as an entrepreneur, as well as in the field of textiles, with all the participants of AARDO member countries present today in this today's webinar topic of transfer of technologies from lab to farm to set up, especially the micro enterprises, sustaining and able to thrive in the present world of market competition from big players, and sharing the opportunities for value addition in the field of textile and micro textile enterprises. The video presentations that you have shared with the audience also had the demonstrations, and they were a great resource for the audience to understand the technology behind your presentation. Along with this, the success stories, both in India and Philippines, which is the takeaway, which is one of the takeaways, primarily interested by the AARDO executives, so as to enable technology transfer at a policy level. We thank you, Dr. Rao and Professor Kannan, for your presentation. The questions were very interactive, and the participants showed a lot of enthusiasm in asking questions and how to apply this in their respective countries. Thank you, sir. We've had a very interesting session today. So the next session, that is for day 6, we have is technologies facilitating collectivization, bulk purchase of inputs and traceability. The session is being moderated by Dr. Abhijit Deshpande, Professor of Chemical Engineering and also Professor in charge of RUTAC. He's also been a moderator on day 1, the inaugural day. The session, the speaker of the session is Dr. Nagesh Kolagani. He's also an alumni of IIT Madras, and he works as a senior consultant in the Tamil Nadu E-Governance Agency, Chennai. With this, I would like to thank all the participants, the speakers, and the moderator for today's session, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.